In Canada, in 2026, there will be a change in the federal tax brackets. And if you're an investor, which is quite possible if you're watching this channel, there are a few small, but I would say important tweaks that you're going to want to understand if you intend to make any moves or any important decisions in your portfolio. I'm going to break down what's actually happening here. I'm going to look at some of the logic behind the changes and what it means for both your regular income and also for your investment income. Starting in the 2026 tax year, the federal income tax system is doing two things at once. First off, all of the federal tax brackets are being increased by around 2%. Theoretically, that's to keep pace with inflation. And the second thing here is that the lowest federal tax rate is now fully dropping to 14%. That is down from what was historically 15%, with a sort of an in-between effective rate of 14.5% in 2025. Now, if I distill that into plain English, more of your income is going to be taxed at lower rates, and the cutoff point for each of those brackets is slightly higher. So far, so good. Then we have on top of that, the basic personal amount. So this is that slice of income that you can earn before you pay any federal tax. That's also going up in 2026. And if you are a high income earner, there are some nuances that you should be aware of. I want to start with the general changes. Then I want to talk specifically about what it means if you earn interest, dividends, or capital gains. Let's start with the general changes in 2026. And I do need to take a very quick step back to put things in context. For 2025, the lowest federal bracket that applied to your first $57,375 of taxable income, and that was taxed at an effective rate of 14.5%. And that's because the official cut from 15 to 14 that kicked in mid-year. Now, in 2026, a few things will be happening all at the same time. First off, the lowest tax rate becomes sort of a clean 14% for the full year. Secondly, the lowest tax bracket, that will go up slightly to cover the first $58,523 of your taxable income. The higher tax brackets also shift up. The second band goes to $117,045. The third to $181,440, and the fourth to $258,482. Anything above that stays at the top 33% federal tax bracket. Now, here's the logic to why this is happening. The CRA, it applies an indexation factor every year so that brackets roughly keep up with inflation. So for 2026, that factor is 1.02. That equals about a 2% increase. So the dollar thresholds for each bracket, they move up by about 2% when you compare them to 2025. The idea here is to reduce what is called bracket creep. For example, if your salary goes up just enough to match inflation, but if those brackets stayed the same, you would gradually be paying more and more tax in real terms, even though your purchasing power didn't improve at all. So the indexation, that's meant to stop that from happening, at least at the federal level. That's what we're talking about here today. As an example of how this would look in practice, take someone earning $60,000 of taxable income. Using the 2025 bracket structure and rates, their federal tax on that income, if we ignore credits, that's roughly $8,858. Now, using the 2026 brackets and the full 14% lowest rate, that drops to about $8,496. So there's a savings of a little over $360 there, again, before you factor in personal credits or anything else. Now, obviously, you're not going to quit your job and travel the world because of this, but yeah, it is real cash and it does stay in your pocket. Another piece to this is the basic personal amount, and the federal basic personal amount. This is that amount that you can earn before you pay any federal tax. That rises again in 2026. For most taxpayers, the maximum basic personal amount jumps to $16,452 in 2026. That's up from $16,129 in 2025. And it is still calculated at that new 14% rate for the credit. Now, as I noted just a minute ago, for higher income individuals, that extra top-up portion this year of the personal benefit, that gets phased out between $181,440 and $258,482 of net income. And because of this phase out, then the federal marginal tax rate in the upper middle band, it isn't exactly 29%. It's actually 29.29%. As your income rises through that range, you're not only paying the regular tax, but you're also gradually losing a bit of that personal credit. So to summarize this from a general taxpayer perspective, the big themes in 2026 are: your brackets are moving up slightly, the lowest rate becomes a clean 14%, and the basic personal amount and its enhanced portion continue to rise, with phase out coming when you get to that higher income level. Now let's talk about investors, because these same changes, they will ripple through to investment income. Usually when we talk about that from a taxation perspective, from the viewpoint of an investor, we tend to focus on things like the capital gains inclusion rate. A lot of talk about that last year. And yeah, there are major structural changes. But even without a major overhaul, the bracket indexation and these rate tweaks that we're talking about here, they do change the math on interest, on dividends, and on capital gains. For 2026, the federal marginal tax table does show how different types of income are taxed within each bracket. For someone in the lowest bracket, up to $58,523 of taxable income, the federal marginal tax rate looked roughly like this. 14% on ordinary income like employment income or interest, 7% on capital gains because only half is included. There's sort of a quirky situation with dividends where eligible Canadian dividends actually can have a slightly negative federal marginal tax rate before you layer in the provincial tax thanks to the dividend tax credit. Now, non-eligible dividends, they are taxed at a small positive rate, just over 5% federally in that lowest band. When you compare those to 2025, those investor-facing marginal rates in the lowest bracket edge down just a little bit. Ordinary income drops from 14.5% to 14%. Capital gains, that goes from 7.25 to 7%. And the effective federal rate on dividends, that shifts slightly in favor of the investor as well. Again, when you look at this, there's no huge revelation here. If you're in that first bracket, your interest income, your foreign income, capital gains are all being taxed a little bit more lightly than they were in 2025, just from the combination of the rate reduction and then that indexation. Now, as you move up the income scale, the picture looks a little bit more like what we're used to. In the second bracket, $58,523 to $117,045, the federal rate on ordinary income, that's going to remain at 20.5%, capital gains 10.25%, and different effective rates for eligible and non-eligible dividends once you account for the gross up and the credit. Third bracket here, up to $181,440. The federal rate on the ordinary income is 26%, 13% on capital gains, plus the dividend math on that. Above that, you hit that 29.29% marginal band up to $258,482. And then the top 33% bracket beyond that, which translates into a 16.5% federal marginal tax rate on capital gains for those with the highest incomes. So practically, what does this mean if you're actually building or managing your portfolio? A few things here. First off, the relative benefits of the tax sheltered accounts like RSPs, TFSAs, they're still very much intact. These changes will bump taxable investment income slightly down at the federal level. They're not going to change sort of the basic hierarchy. Interest is still the least efficient outside of registered accounts. Canadian dividends and capital gains will still get more favorable treatment. All of this, of course, stacks on the provincial taxes, which has its own brackets and credits. Now, secondly here, the inflation indexing of brackets, it does matter if you're drawing income from your investments in retire. If your withdrawals are growing roughly with inflation, then that indexation is going to help keep you from being pushed into a higher bracket just because the cost of living went up. It doesn't make you any better off in real terms, but it does try to keep you from being worse off at least. Now, third, that weird 29.29% marginal band is worth knowing about if your income is in the 180 to 260,000 range and you're deciding when to realize capital gains or pay out dividends from a corporation. Again, for higher earnings who might have some timing decisions that they're making, things like selling a property, crystallizing gains, taking some bonuses, then that extra sliver can actually matter when you look at it from the margin. Now, I do want to look at some important caveats before I wrap up here. Everything we've talked about here is federal only. Provinces, territories, all have their own tax brackets, rates, credits, many of which are also indexed with inflation, but not always in the same day. What really matters ultimately to your wallet here is the combined marginal tax rate where you live. Now, to find that, there are a couple of tools. Taxtips.ca has a very good site there where you can look at the combined marginal tax rate depending on the province that you live in. CRA resources can also help to see the full picture for your own personal province. Also, I focused on broad structural changes here. Tax thresholds, rates, basic personal amounts. There are a lot of other credits and benefits in the system, things like age credits, disability amounts, various provincial programs that can fluctuate and interact with your tax situation in ways that don't always show up on the main rate table that we've looked here today. I will be creating sort of a sister video to this one that gives you all of those details. That means it would be a great idea to subscribe so you don't miss that video when it comes out. I've actually filmed it already. I just need to edit it up so I can post it so you can have a look at what's happening there. Finally, this is all general information. I am not offering personal tax advice or investment advice. Your own mix of income sources, your province, your deductions, your goals, they all matter here. I always say, when in doubt, talking to a tax professional who can actually plug your numbers into a proper model, that's usually money well spent. Few key takeaways from today. First, 2026, it will bring a fully implemented cut to that lowest tax rate of 14%, along with the inflation indexed bracket thresholds. That means that most taxpayers are going to be paying a little bit less federal tax on the same inflation adjusted income compared with 2025. Second, the basic personal amount that continues to rise is going to be phased out at the higher incomes, which creates a slightly elevated marginal band in the 180 to 260,000 range. If you're in that window, your marginal tax rate is a touch higher than the simple bracket chart might suggest. Third, for investors, the changes do trim that federal tax load on interest, dividends, capital gains, especially in the lower tax bracket, but they do not overturn the usual ranking of tax efficiencies. Registered accounts are still powerful. Capital gains and eligible dividends do remain more attractive than plain interest in taxable accounts. Fourth here, remember, all of this sits on top of the provincial tax system's other credits. So think of these federal changes as just one piece of a bigger puzzle, certainly not the be-all and end-all. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned a thing or two. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.